Okay, bold take, I know. And I'm not saying these are like the same thing, like they're on the same level, the same quality, etc. But I am saying that this ending kind of reminds me of the TV broadcast of Ava. It's almost like Ava, where they're just like, yeah, we don't have enough time to explain everything in the end, so we're just gonna kind of give closure to like one thing and that's it, haha, and hopefully maybe someday we can make a movie. And no. Are you no, people went to the hospital for this. People died for this!
Warning. This podcast contains spoilers, as well as discussions of sexual assault, eating disorders, self-harm, and suicide. Please take care of yourself. Thank you.
Oh, we really gotta talk about Wonder Egg Priority today, don't we?
This was your idea.
Was this my idea?
I am 100% sure it was your idea because when I was like, all right, I've got to finally watch the special, I was like, Tay is making me do it because they want to do an episode.
Oh, man, that was a bad idea. Just like the ending to Wonder Egg Priority. Anyway, hey everyone, welcome back to the Our Enemy podcast. Today we are talking about Wonder Egg Priority, and the memorable journey it took us on.
May God have mercy on our souls.
Today I'm your host, Bates Steele Taylor, and I'm joined by two amazing people. I'm joined by Sinrus, aka apparently on some parts of the internet known as Metal Rain.
That's me.
To me known as Owen 2 in Anime Twitch Jeopardy.
Fuck you.
Ooh.
How's it going, Sinrus?
Well, it was... it's been one of those days, and I think it's going to continue to be one at this rate.
Oh, no! I'm sorry.
I was completely blindsided by the Jeopardy disc. What the hell, Tay? It's bad enough that we're talking about Wonder Egg Priority, and now you're talking about... Whatever.
You know what? We're just gonna get all our L's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So... Yeah, but you're doing okay, Sinrus?
I'm doing okay.
Doing all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And we've also got Mozilla Fennekin, a.k.a. Moz, a.k.a. Mose, a.k.a. fan of the Kansas City Royals who are at home playing golf.
Yeah. But we did get to see the White Sox get eliminated today. I don't give a shit if it's from the Astros. Fuck the White Sox.
Oh, man. What, you don't like the White Sox dominating the AL Central in back-to-back years? You're not a big fan of that?
They didn't even really dominate them that much, honestly. We had a winning record against them this year.
Did you really?
We went 10-9 against the Sox, so...
Oh, man.
I knew that... See, I said they were going to get swept. I gave them... maybe not enough credit because they actually won one game, LOL. But
it's a gentleman's sweep.
But
it's a
I
gentleman's
knew
sweep.
that. Oh my god. Okay, here's a fucking L I just took. Pokemon Center has blocked me because I was refreshing a page too much because I'm trying to buy Pokemon cards. The hardest thing to do in the entire world. Now I can't buy them. How do you get blocked from Pokemon Center? By trying to buy stuff on the fucking website. Anyway, whatever we were talking about. Yeah. What were we talking about?
We're talking
5 seconds ago.
We've taken. We're talking about the L's we've taken.
I'm like Nanashi Mume. I just forget everything I say.
Isn't a Wonder Egg a thing in Pokemon too?
Oh, it is. Yeah, Wonder Egg trades, right? Or like something?
What?
Wonder trades?
Well, Wonder Trades. Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a feature.
Which is like almost like Wonder Egg Priority. What Wonder Egg Priority trades?
So how are you doing, Wonder Egg Priority?
This is our worst podcast episode ever.
Honestly, if you are listening to this podcast and you have gone this far, please turn it off. It's not going to get any better from here. This is like the first 10 episodes of Wonder Egg Priority, and the rest of this podcast is going to be episodes like 11 through 12 in the special.
All right.
So, let's talk about Wonder Egg Priority.
To preface this,
we of course talked about Egg back in our winter seasonals, our impressions, and then the retrospective. The winter impressions episode is basically a tragedy at this point, because we went into that season thinking, oh my god, this is like the best season of anime ever, because we've got the climax of ReZero, we've got the new season of Beastars, we've got the best arc of Neverland should be getting adapted. We've got these insane, like we've got Horimiya, which is a super good rom-com that people have been hyping up for years. Mushoku Tensei, people have been hyping up for years.
Horimiya was actually good.
Horimiya was actually good, sure. And then we've got these amazing Trainwrecks, redo of Healer and X-Arm, and now we've got these insane originals, Skate and Wonder Egg Priority. It's like, oh my god, this season's got everything. And then it's like, almost all of those shows, maybe not fell apart entirely, because, I mean, Beastars didn't fall apart, ReZero didn't fall apart, but they were disappointing.
Can ReZero fall apart when it's never been put together?
Whatever.
Thank
Whatever
fucking God. Thank God for Escape the Infinity salvaging that season.
What's the line again? What is it?
Line?
Hello.
What line from what?
Bitches, bros, and non-binary hoes.
Oh yeah, bitches, bros, and non-binary hoes.
What is that from? I don't know this line.
That's from the English dub of Skate.
Oh my god, that's amazing!
At the beginning of the final like tournament, when Adam jumps out of the helicopter.
I didn't know Skate had a good dub.
Yeah. Can we talk about Skate instead? That's a great show.
That's what the
podcast. We told our viewers we were gonna talk about Wonder Egg Priority, and unlike Wonder Egg Priority, we're not gonna bing switch up on them.
Yeah.
So Maz, I believe you said you had something to share with the class about why on God's green earth you decided to rewatch all of Wonder Egg Priority on one day.
Yeah, because we were doing this podcast essentially, and I just kind of didn't remember too much of the show. It's like, I remember the experience of watching it, and the thing is, I did like Egg quite a bit. It did end up being a disappointing show, but it was still a decent 7. And to say that it's disappointing and still give it a decent 7 just shows the caliber the beginning episodes were of. For sure. It had one of the most amazing starts I think I've ever seen for any anime. But it was hard to remember what exactly was it that didn't work out exactly. I mean, I kind of vaguely remember it's all right, the first episode was a lot weirder and more creative than everything else, but what exactly was the problem with the show? So I wanted to refresh myself on it for real. So I did that. And it's kind of funny how we're prefacing this as if it was this huge mistake, because I came away liking the show more upon a rewatch. I felt like I just got more out of it, and I'm like, yeah, this really did end up sure, it wasn't a perfect, amazing 10 out of 10 like I was hoping it might be at the very beginning, but it was I gave it an 8 this time. I actually did really like it. I got more out of the characters. I kind of understood the character arcs a lot more and all that. And so, yeah, I did that. And I did that, of course, to prep myself for watching the special, the sort of epilogue OVA that concludes the series, quote unquote. So I wanted to make sure I, knew exactly what I was getting into. It turned out to be a complete waste of time to rewatch the entire series, though, because this first half of this 45-minute OVA is a recap of the entire show. So my time was wasted. I didn't need to actually watch it. I could have just watched the special, and I would have gotten the recap that I needed anyway.
Well, at least by rewatching the whole thing, it seems like you gained a little more appreciation for it, so it's not all loss.
Yeah, of course. And I did it for the memes, so I could post on Twitter and make funny jokes about it, which is what it's all about at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Oh, man.
So,
yeah.
I will say that, well, I have been very harsh on it so far in this conversation. I actually really liked this show. I thought I had a similar experience to everyone else, where I was like, this started out really good and then got a lot less good. But I had my opinion of it declined a lot slower than most other people's. I remember around like halfway through the season, a lot of people being like, yeah, like Egg isn't good anymore. And I was still really into it at that point.
I mean, we had the trans rights episode, like episode 10.
Yeah, that was
10 or 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 10 because 11 was the flashback episode. And 12 was the double octo eye.
Right.
I guess you're right. Somehow you know more about this than me, who watched it like 2 hours ago.
Well, it's because, the recap threw you off on the pacing of it.
Of course.
I would say it's only after that episode that the show, like,
jumps the shark.
It really jumps the shark, and just turns into probably the single biggest disappointment I have ever had with a piece of media.
Damn.
Okay, but did you watch Darling in the Franxx?
Yes, but it was never good.
Did you watch Seikai Surukado?
I don't even know what that is.
Did you watch Isekai Quartet Season 1 hoping that Megumin and Emilia would talk to each other?
But I didn't quite have the same level of investment in that as you did.
Oh, man.
So
no, I mean, I totally get what you're saying, because, I think I remember seeing people, I think like it was after like episode 4 or 5, people started saying that, there's things that people don't like about it, and it's starting to fall apart. And I feel like as you're watching it, it feels like there are cracks in the writing. Yeah. Like, you could be like, okay, I could see how this might turn wrong. I don't remember, like, towards the end, I was getting real nervous as to how they were gonna finish everything and how they were gonna handle everything. But then episode 10, I think, really just reaffirmed my belief in the show. And I was like, wow, this is gonna, like, be really fucking amazing. Because that episode about the trans experience, about a trans character, was one of the most kindly handled that I've come across, I feel like.
Totally.
And it was just really wonderfully well done. It was very sensitive. But it was sensitive while still remaining true to what the show's core was. So it didn't feel like inauthentically cloying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was really good for how it tied into like one of the main characters' like well-established like personal insecurities. Right. Like giving Momoe, like another like sort of like gender non-conforming character to interact with was really good, even before you get to like the fact that it's one of the rare like very good depictions of trans people in anime.
Yo, the people, oh man, it was tough though, because I think Moz, you and I had tweets about this as it was airing, but like it was really hard to parse originally, like, whether it was confirmed whether Momoe was trans or not.
That's right.
I felt like
that was like,
originally
that was one of the funniest, like, I guess, happy little mistakes, I guess, that happened with me in this show. Of course with this show, but like in general with anime, because like when Momoe is first introduced, she says things like she's there's a monster that is saying that she's a boy, and she's like, no, I have the right to ride on this bus, like anyone else, because I'm a girl, and things like that. So I felt like they were really trying to be like, yeah, this person seems like a boy, but it's actually a girl, and that probably
she does seem very transcoded at first. Yeah,
right.
So and
then they veer away from that for a little bit, and you're like, wait a second, is she not trans?
Yeah.
And then episode 10 is like very reaffirming of like, no, actually, she is trans.
I don't know if Momoe is trans, but they met a.
I don't think that's the takeaway.
Really?
for Momoe.
No, I don't think Momoe is trans, but they just met a trans character later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I saw, because I was ambivalent on a lot, and I saw like a lot of commentary after episode 10, where it's like, I guess it's one of those things where, well, if someone reads Momoe as trans, it's hard to take that away from them.
Yes, but also like Momoe's whole like insecurity is from the fact that she is like biologically female. But is perceived as male.
Perceived as male.
Very often. And doesn't like the fact that she's perceived as male.
Perceived as male, right.
Despite the fact, you know, she presents and appears very masculine. She's a complicated, really well-written character.
It's complicated to unpack. Yeah. And she's, you know, there's a lot of things that you can really unpack about her that I really liked. I liked her character arcs along with Rika the most, I think.
Yeah.
Like, Nehru was cool, but they almost left too much about her to mystery and then never resolved any of it.
Nehru was always, like, the weirdest character, which I think when you look at her, you can always kind of tell a little bit of where the show is going to end up, you know?
Yeah, in a way, she's like maybe a bit of a microcosm of the entire series, where it's like, all right, there's some really cool and complex things going on here, but you're not going to see all of it because they're just not going to get around to it, I guess.
Right. But so I guess we should address, you know, this is kind of like, I don't know how 100% confirmed this is. This is just what I've seen, but like the source of all the weirdness behind why the show is so like incoherent with its themes at times on this subject, which is that supposedly there was a creative differences between the author and the director of this show.
Right.
So we touched on this a little bit in the retrospective for the season, but for anyone who didn't watch that, I'll go over it again. So there's a scene like 6 or 7 episodes in. I don't really remember.
I think it's like episode 4.
Oh, is it that early? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty early, actually.
Yeah.
So there's a scene fairly early on where the girls are talking to the Akkas, as they're called, Akka and Dora Akka, about like this weird dream landscape where they meet like the spirits of these girls who committed suicide. And the Akka, they're like, well, why is it only girls who show up like in the Wonder Eggs? And the Akkas say some like insane gender essentialist bullshit about how like men's and women's suicides mean different things. And like men, like when women commit
I got it pulled up. Men are goal oriented, women are emotion oriented. Women are impulsive and easily influenced by others' voices.
Yes. So basically the message of the show, and this according to the writer of the show, is the thought that like spurred him to write the whole thing. This is like the original inspirational concept behind the show, is that when women commit suicide, it's because they're like stupid and impulsive. And the director,
very feminist thing to say.
Yeah. The director is not a fucking psychopath and had a more reasonable take on things. So you can see in a lot of places in the show where the writing would or like the events that happen would kind of fit into this like sexist, gender essentialist narrative, but the way things are actually handled is a lot more like sensitive and appropriate and kind of working against that. So I think a lot of people thought for most of the show that the point of it was that the Akkas were the villains because like this is how they think, and the actual theme of the show is being set up to be that like, oh no, the reason that this is happening to these girls is because people who see them in that way are mistreating them.
Right.
And that is not...
And setting up the skeevy teacher.
That is not really where it went. And it didn't... And this is where I would tell you where it did go, except that it didn't end up actually going anywhere. And that's the biggest disappointment for me with Wonder Egg Priority, is that this special... Mm-hmm. So, the other thing that was going on behind the scenes with Wonder Egg Priority is that it is probably the, like, worst nightmare story of bad anime crunch production of all time.
Mm.
Did it, like, multiple people have to be rushed to the hospital and one person had to go, like, twice?
Yeah.
At least the like, lead animation producer did twice.
We're hearing stories about how, like, you know, it's an hour before it's supposed to air and they're still finishing producing it and stuff. Eventually, like, they couldn't keep up the pace and they had to, like, skip an episode. And that meant that
they did, like, a recap.
They had a recap episode, and then, like, when anime start running, they, like, have their time slots, and they can't...
They're bought in 13 week segments.
Yeah, so if you miss an episode, you can't just delay it. They lost an episode entirely off of the runtime of the show, which means that when they got to the end of their runtime, the show wasn't over. So they announced, okay, we're going to have, like, an hour-long special to wrap everything up. And that's going to air...
And that's happened before.
Yeah, it's happened before.
It's not unprecedented. Yeah.
It's never good.
Kekai Sensen had to do it.
Right.
But
Kekai Sensen was different, because that was an actual, like, national emergency that happened, I think.
Right. But, like, having to miss an episode and then being like, okay, we'll come back later.
Yeah.
Is not unprecedented. Maybe the circumstances can change from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, you know, it's never a great feeling, but it wasn't like, oh, this has never happened before kind of deal.
Right.
Is basically what I wanted to say.
It's maybe marginally better than shows that get pulled off the air entirely and just have to finish the broadcast later on.
I would say it's probably better than that, yeah. So, like, 3 or 4 months go by before the special is supposed to come out. And then, like, a week before the special is about to come out, you start hearing the rumors again. Seeing it on Twitter and stuff. Like, oh, the Wonder Egg Priority special is supposed to air in 4 days and they just finished key animation. You know, that kind of thing. And then it comes out. It's an hour-long special. The first half of it is a recap. And then the second half is an episode where basically nothing happens, and then the show just ends without addressing, like, any of the hanging plot threads.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's the most non-ending of all time.
Yeah. I wish so badly that they had just fucked up their themes and done something, like, really horrible, so I could at least, like, be mad that the ending was bad. Instead, it just didn't end. Like,
the very last line of the entire series is Ioto is back, and then just cut to ED.
And it's so mind-boggling. How is it possible that they did this? And the only way I can wrap my head around it, the only thing that I can imagine being the explanation for why it ended the way it did was just that they lost to crunch again. They couldn't finish it in time, so they only, like, the second half of the special was supposed to be the first half of the special. And they were supposed to have another episode's worth of stuff on the end, but they got through the first half, like, we don't have time to finish the second, throw together a recap, we'll just put out what we have. We have no other options.
Yeah. I mean, the special, I heard, didn't get to, like, actual production until, you know, a few days before it actually came out. And it kind of looks like something they put together in a couple of days.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, during the TV run, Wonder Egg Priority still looked phenomenal.
Right, that's the craziest thing about it.
Like, do you have anime that have terrible anime production issues, like, during its run? Like, say, an Orange or a Review Starlight? And it's very clear
that
they're
two very, very weird examples of disastrous production that I don't know how many people would, like, agree with or even know about.
But Or what? Do you want me to bring up like Mars then or something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, well, let's bring up Mars then, and Cinderella 9 as other anime that had disastrous airing times. And like, you could really tell they were getting fucked over during their animation time because like it looked really bad. But like Wonder Egg Priority, like even with its crunch, somehow managed to look really good. Like if you weren't plugged into the anime scene at all, you'd probably be like, bro, this anime is great.
Yeah, it looked
like,
amazing.
Treating all their animators so well. Like there was so much Sakuga. The fight scenes looked great. The emotion, like
every single episode looked fantastic.
Even the last television episode that was like, you know, like which you would think would be like one of the worst looking ones. I mean, look at Ava, right? Like, look at how terrible the last 2 episodes of Ava looked because of production issues and timing and stuff. And Wonder Egg Priority never had to resort to that. Sure, like, did people's health suffer? Yes. But it's not like people's health didn't suffer on other things. And it was just, and like, I'm not trying to make fun of that. It's just, like, it's absolutely absurd to me how they were able to pull it off. And then, like, the special just fell apart. Like, they didn't even have that going for it in the final episode. It's really heartbreaking to see. Because you can tell that, like, for a lot of the people on the team and for the people working on it, this was like a passion project for them.
Yeah.
And I think that love for this kind of story they were trying to craft and the stories they were trying to tell really came through and really spoke to a lot of viewership.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, and, you know, and it kind of felt like obviously art, it's one of those things where, like, what obligation does art have to us? What obligation does anime or TV or media have to us? Is media obligated to tell a good story? Is media obligated to fulfill on its potential? And it's one of those things where I felt like Wonder Egg Priority really let us down because I think I agree with you, Moss. Like, the first 10 episodes, even with its, you know, occasional tonal dissonance, especially with the gender essentialist bullshit and the really terrible, you know, shit they talk about women and high school girls and the overall arcs in there, like, it sets up this really great story where they're trying to tackle, you know, some possibly like larger societal things like older men preying on younger women, especially with the teacher, and suicide and the trans experience and dealing with all that and gender identity. And then the last 2 episodes just take a huge swerve, and I just really found, I think for me, the most heartbreaking part of this was the quote-unquote twist, which made me feel like a Game of Thrones twist in the way that, like, Game of Thrones, like, would do twists that made no sense character-wise just to, like, hey, like, you had no idea this was coming, where it turns out Ai's, you know, quote-unquote best friend in high school who killed herself, wasn't actually a good person, and was spouting false rape accusations, which, like, is so harmful to everything that the show was trying to go for. Like, to turn this character into, like, oh yeah, she was, like, accusing men of, like, falsely raping her, and she, like, caused one guy to, like, kill himself and, like, ruined his life because of a false rape accusation, and she was doing that against a really creepy dude who was, like, hitting on Ai's mom, and actually he's, like, a really nice dude. Mm-hmm. Not bad at all. It's actually the girl who died. It's her fault.
Yeah.
After setting up an entire season of, like, a tragic character and, like, the way society feels young women, to turn it into that just felt so fucked up.
I'll say, up until, like, the special and the reveal about Ai's friend, I actually kind of liked the way that they handled the teacher as a character. Because obviously, when you have the setup of this premise, you know, it's natural to assume that he's, like, the villain of the show, right? You know, he just, like, gives off those vibes, you know, if there's some sort of association between like him and this young girl who committed suicide and everything. And I thought it was really interesting how they developed him to the point where you kind of realize eventually that he's not really doing anything wrong. Ai is just really suspicious of him because she's like scared of him and like doesn't know what happened with her mom with her friend, is defensive of her mom, and that kind of thing. And I thought it was a cool little twist on what you would expect that kind of narrative to be like, having him actually be like good and supportive for her at the end. But yeah, what they did with...
Still a little creepy that he was making her his art subject.
Yeah,
painting subject.
That's true.
Is that weird?
Aging her up and then wanting to marry her mom.
Right.
I think is not a thing most well-adjusted good people would do in a position of power.
Sure, that's fair.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't think that much of it, but then again, I'm not a very well-adjusted person, so take that as you will.
I'm
also not a teacher or anything, so...
Maz, I would let you draw a painting of me aged up anytime, so don't worry.
So you're just going to be a really old man.
Oh...
Yeah. Where the fuck were we?
No, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because, like, like making her suspicious and like being like, okay, maybe this guy didn't do anything wrong. Maybe it's fine, and maybe it's like, I would have I think you're right in that like the twist could have worked if it turns out that like he wasn't a bad guy, he wasn't suspicious, and actually like, her friend was suicidal and she was going through some really tough shit, but he was actually trying to be there to support her, and like he's going through the pain of like losing her too.
Right.
I think that would have been better. And, like, not that I'm trying to say that I'm a writer, but, like, it would have been less problematic than him being like, oh, yeah, she was, like, trying to falsely accuse me of rape and shouting from the roof, literally shouting from the rooftops that I had raped her when she slipped and fell and died.
Whoops.
Oopsie.
Like, as twists
Made a
go...
little fucky-wucky there.
As twists go, I think that might be, like, my least favorite. Yeah. And I used to think, like, I really didn't like pretzel twists. But, like, I think this is worse than that.
Pretzel twists?
Yeah, you haven't had, like, pretzel twists?
He's talking about Rem from ReZero.
Oh...
Yeah, it's like such an unsatisfying conclusion to be like, this girl you've been wondering about and like the tragedy of what happened to her this whole series. Actually, all that was going on is that she was a terrible person and then she died by accident.
A horrific person. God. And it's like, okay, so what are you going to do with that? It's like the conch from SpongeBob. It's like, nothing. So what are you gonna about this storyline with like Nehru and like her being like this genetically created specimen who like might be from an alternate universe and like had a sister friend who like is lost in the universe?
Yeah, thinking about it now.
Thinking about nothing.
Thinking about that now, that's maybe the most unsatisfying thing about it was actually the parallel universe stuff. Because like when they get into that. And then at the end, you see that the girls do come back to life, but then it's like they don't like. At least with Koito, like she doesn't end up remembering Ai at all. So it's like we're in a parallel universe where they never met. Right. Well, it's like, well, why not just have a parallel universe where nothing ever happened and the show isn't real? It's like it just cancels everything out basically. It just feels like that.
Yeah. I was going to say something. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. A little more evidence, I think, for my theory that the reason the special was the way it was is just because they ran out of time to make it. Is when they meet, what's her name? Fubuki, the albino girl, who lived with Nehru. And they're like, yes, we have a recording of Neru's last dream, but we're not going to show it to you. We just have the audio from it and no visuals to go along.
Yeah, I don't know. It reminds me of it's an ending that might be this might be a bit of an exaggeration, but these shows are not on the same level. They're not on the same like quality or level of importance or anything like that. But like the ending of Egg is kind of like the ending of Ava in the TV broadcast, where it's like, because the end of the TV broadcast of Ava, it literally just says, we don't have enough time to explain everything that happened, so we're just going to kind of close off like Shinji's character arc, and that's about it. And that's all you get. And so with Egg, it really did feel like they were just like, yeah, we don't have enough time to finish all the plot points anymore, so I guess we'll just kind of give you some answers and leave you with that. Yeah, in the end. You can fill in the rest yourself. Maybe, hopefully, someday in a couple of years, we can like come back and do a proper movie that will actually explain everything, but that's unlikely. Lol.
Didn't it also sell
I'm not betting on that.
It sold like 200 copies.
Nothing. Like total across all its
for real?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it didn't even chart for some of its volumes, and I think like the chart cutoff was like 200.
Well, I don't know. They say that licensing an episode of anime costs like millions of dollars per episode, so hopefully Funimation just funded it back themselves.
Yeah.
God. Weren't they on the committee, though? So, like, it's probably just like, alright, from one lost ledger to the other. Oh, man.
So, an utter failure in nearly all respects. Like, creatively, financially, anything you can think of.
Physically.
Emotionally.
Health-wise, yeah.
Hi, my name is Taylor. Have you been emotionally or physically impacted by Wonder Egg Priority? Then you could be eligible for claims against Wonder Egg Priority.
You may be entitled to financial compensation.
Please call 1-800-EGG-SUCKS to be connected to one of our amazing associates who have a 1000% success rate in getting your money back from Wonder Egg Priority.
Except that nobody spent any money on it.
Unless he bought a Funimation subscription.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah, imagine getting a Funimation subscription.
Have you been broken? Have you been mentally affected by buying a Funimation subscription? Well, call our associates and we can help you get that fixed for you.
God, it's actually absurd how bad Funimation's video player is. What is more disappointing and terrible? Funimation's web player or Wonder Egg Priority's ending?
I would have to say Wonder Egg Priority.
I would say Funimation because I got to post funny tweets about Wonder Egg Priority.
But I've gotten to post funny tweets about Funimation's terrible video player.
But I made shut up.
See how great we are at debates? We can definitely get you your money back.
Exactly.
All that said, though, you guys want to talk about some of the things that were good about the show? Because I am still really fond of this show in a fucked up sort of way.
The direction in the show was phenomenal.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think a lot about.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, you.
I was going to say sometimes I think about. Actually, oftentimes I think about what you said about the Heaven's Feel adaptation for Fate Stay Night.
What was that?
When you're like, oh, like you didn't love how it was adapted for the first film because the visual novel is much more like horror movie, horror game-esque.
Yeah.
And it doesn't convey that across well in the adaptation. And of course, like Wonder Egg Priority is an original work, but I felt like one of the things they grasped really well was the uneasiness of the atmosphere around everything. In a way that I felt like reminded me, and this is like the most obvious comparison to go to, but like a little bit about Madoka Magica, where you're like, okay, like obviously something is going wrong underneath the surface of this. People should not believe that you can just pay like a couple, 100 yen and get an egg to try and save a girl who committed suicide.
Right.
Like, clearly there's going to be some consequences to your action. But it wasn't like, a lot of Madoka clones and copycats over the years have really been obvious about it. Like, let's say a Maho Shoujo Raising Project, a Magical Girl Raising Project. For one, where it was just like really obvious that that's what they were going for, or Yuki Yuna is a hero.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like with Wonder Egg Priority, it was kind of like horror-esque to me, where it was like, okay, like, clearly something is wrong here, something is uncanny, but like, I think what sets up a good horror story is like the audience knowing something is wrong and the characters also acknowledging something is kind of wrong, but nobody quite being on the same page as to what exactly is wrong.
Sure.
And it gives you this air of uneasiness and unfamiliarity and a little bit of panic about what could be coming around the corner next. And I think the direction of Wonder Egg Priority really helped that. It looked phenomenal. It looked great. Like the way it would frame its characters through all these things they would go through and the times they would fight like these monsters and stuff. I think it did really well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And the fights themselves also just looked amazing.
Looked phenomenal.
The fight choreography was so good. There are so many good little stylistic choices just in the way the show depicts everything. Like, the fact that all of their weapons in the dream world are just like souped up versions of like school supplies. There's not really any reason for it to be that way, but it's cool. Like, Ai has a giant hammer that's like one of those 4-color pens where you push down. Like
it's a keyblade. She gets a keyblade.
It is kind of a keyblade, isn't it? Rika has the
scissors.
Yeah.
Or the knives, sorry.
Yeah,
the
like
knives.
the box cutter knives.
Yeah.
And, that stuff is really cool. I love Ai's little like catchphrase whenever she...
Now I'm really mad.
Now I'm really mad.
Yeah.
It's like, hell yeah, girl. Like, stop taking shit from people. Get mad. Do something about it.
I think they all had a little catchphrase, because Rika said... No, not Rika. No, Neiru said, "I'll blow your mind."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget what Rika's and Momoe's were, if they have.
I don't know if
to me,
the other
it felt
two had.
like a homage to Sailor Moon. And this is not an original thought I've had. It's by a wonderful article by Reiko Yoshida, who was writing for Grantland when she talked about Sailor Moon, but talking about how in Sailor Moon they used things like compacts and other like makeup materials and things, and would utilize those as weapons in Sailor Moon. And was saying how that was like a third wave of feminism. Unfortunately, I am not cultured and I am not intelligent, so I don't know. I don't even know which wave of feminism we are on now. So never mind what the third wave of feminism is. But
I don't remember.
Has been something that's that's a phrase that stuck with me, and when I was thinking about when I was watching Wonder Egg Priority, because they were wielding things that were clearly a source of trauma to them in some sort. I using the 4-color pen when she was bullied at school, and that pen is something you would use at school.
Right.
Rika using
like a literal weaponized version of the knives she used to self-harm.
Exactly. And I was like, this is, in a sense, it feels empowering to be able to acknowledge what the trauma you went through and utilize that as a weapon to save others.
Totally.
And I was like, that's just an awesome concept.
Right? Like, that's so strong. That is such a good idea to, like, build a series off of. But that's just not what it was trying to do, actually, after all.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
That's what's so heartbreaking about it.
The failed potential.
Yeah. It could have been so good, but they weren't trying to make it good.
Momoa says get lost.
Oh, that's right, yes. Yeah, and speaking of all 4 of the girls, gotta say my single favorite thing about the whole show, they are the fucking perfect anime friend group. Every scene of them just like hanging out is awesome. They're the best. I love them. They are so much fun.
They're such a great group dynamic.
Yeah. It's cool because it's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like, in a way, it's like they're all very different, and there are things about them that like don't match each other. Like Rika's obviously like always pissing everyone off, but it like, yeah, but that also just is part of what makes them great as a group.
Right. Yeah.
Like the fact that they all have their own positive and negative traits, I guess.
It's like it's very true to, like real life friend groups where, everyone is like friends with everyone, but to varying degrees they get along with each other, and some of them just like piss each other off. Like Neru and Rika absolutely do not get along.
Especially for people who are just kind of, they haven't known each other that long.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. It reminds me a little bit of A Place Further Than the Universe, when they add like the last or the second to last girl to the group. And there's this great moment where they're all like sitting in a diner or something. And she's like, I want to be friends with all of you guys. Like, I've never had like a really close group of friends like you guys all are with each other. And the other 3 of them like look back and forth and they're like, we've known each other for like a week.
Yeah.
But I could watch the like scene of the 4 of them just like bowling at the arcade forever. I could watch a whole show of them doing that. One of my favorite moments in the whole thing, which in retrospect is probably meant to be like these girls are stupid and don't have their priorities straight moments, but if you don't interpret it that way, is awesome.
Priority?
No. Yes, they don't have their Wonder Egg priorities straight. There's one moment where like the Akkas are about to start explaining like the deep lore of the series, and they get like one sentence into it, and then Momoe texts the group chat that she has a date coming up, and the 2 who are talking to the Akkas are just like, actually, never mind, I don't fucking care. We have way more important things to worry about. And they just like leave to go talk to Momoe about her date. It's good. It's good. It's good. That's what I want. Why can't I have it? Don't I deserve that much? Don't I deserve that much?
Sinrus, you sound so down bad. We'll be that for you, Sinrus, especially if you come to New York.
Oh, I was referring to, that's what I want out of like my media, but also I appreciate it.
I was like, damn, Sinrus, I guess that's how we are.
Media is just a friendship simulator.
It's true.
What if the real friends were the media we made along the way?
Good old parasocial relationship with fictional characters.
Gotta love VTubers.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
And all 4 of the girls all have like amazing 10 out of 10 designs.
Oh yeah.
Like when I was one of the first people to like be really hyping this show up because I have a sort of meme about, I just think heterochromia is just really cool and it's awesome. And so I saw this show got announced and they revealed this character. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a great show.
Yeah,
no
you got
idea
fucking Max Scherzer as the protagonist.
Fuck yeah. And I was almost right, kind of. But there's actually a really interesting little like bit of history with Egg, because when this was first announced, it was announced in like October or something of 2020. So it only had a couple of months between the initial announcement and the premiere date, which is not all that common for any seasonal anime. And for a brand new original anime, especially uncommon.
Right.
And whatever they revealed about it, like when they announced it, they did not really say what it was going to be. Like they gave us a bit of a the trailer with, some footage from the first minute, but it was basically just like mostly like character shots or some of the slower scenes of I walking around. And the synopsis that they gave for the show was like not even a synopsis. It was just like some flavor text, just kind of like vaguely describing the concept of the show. So there was no way of knowing what this was going to be at all. So when it came out, it's just like, what in the world is this weird Wonder Egg like, what is that title? What are these character designs? Like, what is going on? And so it was really, it was so much fun seeing the seasonal takeover that Wonder Egg Priority had in the beginning. It's like one of the best. It reminds me of like Made in Abyss, when Made in Abyss was airing, because that was a super unpopular show because it was out on it was only available on Anime Strike. It was fucking double paywalled, so everyone had to do like this grassroots campaign to get the show marketing because no one else was marketing it at all. So like everyone just had to shove it down everyone else's throats, like, guys, you gotta watch this. That was what was happening with Egg, because it was such a weird, mysterious series that everyone just had to spread it by word of mouth and just say like, just watch it. It's real good.
And it was on a really terrible, unpopular streaming service as well.
Yes.
Anyway, I do not like Funimation.
We even knew.
It has not been made clear. But I don't know. I will say this. My favorite part of the group is that they each got to say some part of Wonder Egg Priority in that one episode that opens with them saying, "This is our Wonder Egg Priority." And I was like, fuck yeah, I fucking love this show.
People have dunked on like that title drop so much, and I don't really get why.
So
like,
campy.
Sure, it's dumb.
It's so campy.
Yeah.
People have dunked on it without realizing that there's a sign behind Momoe that misspells please, and it says Paris in English instead. No one's talking about that.
Why are you talking about the real issues?
I've got the proper dunks.
Oh, man. Oh, I don't know. Just, man, there was so much to like about Wonder Egg Priority. I was really falling in love with that show.
Yeah, me too.
I think it reminds me of Darling in the Franxx in a way, because Darling in the Franxx, I feel like, was never promising. And I was never, like, I was very hyped up for it at first. I was like, oh shit, like, Trigger collaborating with like A1 Pictures. Okay, that's kind of cool, I guess. But it's like they're working with a lot of the ex-Gainax, or the Gainax expats who eventually went to A1 Pictures and worked on Idolmaster. So it's like, maybe it'll be like very Gainax-esque, which would be cool. And then they had things weren't looking great, but it was like, oh, they have like that one gay character, who has like a thing for the main character, and maybe that'll do well. And like, spoilers for Darling in the Franxx, but Darling in the Franxx also has like some of maybe the worst gay erasure I've come across in anime.
Yeah, Darling in the Franxx really hates the gays.
Darling in the Franxx was like, hey, one gay character is like, actually, now that I learned that it is necessary to have kids, I don't like men anymore. And then made the other gay character like crippled with space AIDS at the end. So like, there's killing your gays, and then there's what Darling in the Franxx did.
Yeah.
And look, like, Wonder Egg Priority didn't go that far, I think. I'm not at least with its gay themes and its gay characters, especially with how wonderful episode 10 was. But I think it's disappointing seeing how good episode 10 was, and then what they ended up not doing with the platform they had and the characters they had.
Right. Yeah, and the fact that the little bit we get in the special that isn't recap is basically just like all of the characters being like, actually, I'm done interacting with the plot. Like, I'm gonna go home. Like, that's literally just what they do.
Which isn't even a bad, like, plot point, especially because at the very end, they run into these horrifying, overpowered monsters that destroy their little Pokemon and fucking eat them.
Yeah.
So it's like, I wouldn't want to participate in this either.
Especially if you find out, like, you're saving these people, but, like, in an alternate dimension that, like, you won't get to interact with. So it's like, alright, I saved my person. Like, what more do you want me to do? Especially, like, it's not like they're bringing them back here. Like, I don't fucking know, man. Yeah. And then the fact that, like, Neru wasn't Neru, but she was, like, an alternate version of Neru who was a robot.
Neru was stuck in the dream.
Neru was always, like, an AI. The thing about the Neru I meets there not actually being her is the greatest because
oh no.
Like, early on in the show, when they're all talking about, like, who are you fighting for? Like, what's the reason you're doing this? Neru, the person who she's trying to bring back to life is her sister. And the reason she's doing that isn't because of, like, guilt over her sister's death like the rest. It's because her sister, like, went crazy, literally stabbed her in the back, and then, like, ran away and jumped off a bridge. And Neru's like, I want to bring her back to life so I can fucking kick her ass. And then that is never, ever mentioned again throughout the normal run of the show. Until the special, when I runs into Neru's sister, who just looks exactly like Neru, and doesn't serve any purpose there except to say, like, I don't know who you are, and then leave. It's absurd. And even when I still like had hopes for the show and like just like thought it was good, I was still like, all right, when are they gonna bring up Neru's sister, like fucking murdering her again? Nope.
Did you guys see the one edit on YouTube that's like the Wonder Egg priority special, but only the good parts?
Yes, I did.
I have not seen this.
It's like 20 seconds long. It's them doing karaoke, and then at the end, I going like, Otto I reporting back, and it ends.
The scene of them doing karaoke is excellent. You know, that's the like dumb friend group shit that I loved about the show.
But it came out of nowhere. Yeah. It was so totally dysfunctional. I was like, what the
it doesn't fit it doesn't fit the tone of the special at all, but that's fine because the tone of the special is bad and it's good.
Fuck the tone of the special.
And it's just I singing the ED for the song really, really badly.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even tell it was the ED for the anime at first because it was so terrible.
Yeah.
Oh man. Actually, I'm gonna be honest, I did not know she was singing the ED of the song until you just told me it was so bad. I don't know why I was just not gonna say that, but
out of shame.
Out of shame. Oh man. What a time to be alive.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you guys this question.
I'm listening.
Okay.
I guess a two-part question. First is Wonder Egg Priority the most disappointing original anime you've seen? And how do you feel like, if at all, it affects your anticipation for future original anime?
I have to compare this to whatever else, I guess.
Well, I can definitely answer the first part right off the bat. Yes. As I said earlier, I think Wonder Egg Priority is the most disappointed I have ever been with any show. Just like, period. How it affects my anticipation for other original anime? That is an interesting question. Because people were saying all along with Wonder Egg Priority, it fits into the mold of a lot of originals with kind of a wacky premise, where they've got a really cool thing going on, but it's maybe a little too weird for them to ever explain it in a satisfying way. So they're going to need to stick the landing eventually, and it's not really clear how that's going to be possible. And there are a lot of shows, like, I think Flip Flappers is probably the most famous example, that are the same way and have historically, like, basically always failed to stick the landing. So it would not be too unreasonable to just have assumed, and I think a lot of people did, that Flip Flappers, or that Wonder Egg Priority was not going to stick the landing. So, on that level, like, it's not really a departure from originals that came before it, so it probably shouldn't affect my, interpretation of what to expect from original anime series. On the other hand, though, the scale of this one is so different from a lot of those, both in terms of the highs and the lows, that it's hard to really look at them on the same axis. I just think that, like, WEP is maybe not different from anything that came before it in that respect, but it definitely has raised that particular brand of fucking up to, like, an all-time high. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. I asked because, for me, I feel like I used to have, like, higher expectations for original anime. Especially because I think one of the first original anime that I watched, as it was, like, at least part of it was airing, was Code Geass. And that, I think most people, the popular consensus is that it really stuck the landing. And me in, like, 8th, 9th grade, obviously, you really believe that. Like, it was perfect for me, and I still really like that ending. Like, the way Code Geass' ending made me felt, and brought everything together was, like, really phenomenal to me. And then, of course, there was I'll Noah Zero, which, did not have a great ending. Despite how amped up I was, because, it was by the director of Fate Zero, I want to say, and also had Urobuchi working on the initial premise of it, encompass series composition. But even after I'll Noah Zero really shat the bed with its ending, I still had hope when it came to Darling in the Franxx. And I think it wasn't until Darling in the Franxx came out that I was like, oh, because, like, Shirobako I also watched airing, and I was like, okay, like, this is a great original anime as it's airing. But I think it really was Darling in the Franxx that broke my back. That I was like, okay, I can't, in good faith, recommend original anime anymore as they're airing.
I don't really know if that's fair. I think it's like, there definitely is this brand of original anime, like stuff like Flip Flappers, that has the vibe that at this point I think we can all see coming from a mile away, and has earned that sort of reputation by now. But, stuff like Shirobako, fantastic show, doesn't really have anything in common with Flip Flappers or Wonder Egg Priority or anything else.
That's true.
I think it's a little unfair to lump all originals in like that.
Okay. Just a lot of PA Works original anime. Right. So I should have lumped, like, Sakura Quest with that.
Yeah,
and Irozuku Colors with that. Yeah.
Yes.
So, makes sense. But
not Aquatope of the White Sand, obviously.
I haven't
seen anything about Aquatope. I just know people like it on Twitter.
I haven't seen it, but I have been reliably told by people who know I hate PA Works original anime that I would like it.
Interesting.
Really?
So, yes. I don't know if I should believe them, though. Maybe they aren't reliable, actually.
Come to think of it.
Never trust anyone who tells you a PA Works anime is good.
Aside from Shirobako.
Look, all I'm saying... Aside from Shirobako. Look, all I'm saying is, I hated Uma Musume Season 1, and that was done by PA Works. But I fucking love Uma Musume Season 2, and that was not done by PA Works.
That was the missing link. That was the only thing wrong with the show.
It wasn't the horse girls who race each other and are also idols premise of the show. It was the fact that PA Works was on it. Man. I do hope that like the people who worked on this anime who were not the gender essentialist bullshit and homophobic bullshit and all that shit. I hope the people who worked on it and weren't those people end up getting to do some really awesome things in the anime industry.
Me too.
Because like we said, like this had so much promise and like it looked phenomenal. Like Sakugaburo would be like filled with Wonder Egg priority clips every week.
Yeah. The original writer, the bad guy of our story, his name is
who we were given warnings about this guy, but we were huffing the copium and hoping.
Were we given warnings about this guy? Different. I didn't know any warnings about him.
We were, yeah, on Twitter. It was all about like how like this guy had done like other previous LGBTQ dramas, and they were all really fucked up and ended really terribly.
His name is Nojima Shinji. This is the only anime he's ever worked on.
Bro, don't trust people named Shinji.
Yes, this really is just like Ava. I was totally right.
He writes
anime watcher who's only seen Ava. There's a lot of Ava vibes from this.
He's written like TV dramas for like 35 years.
Yeah.
The director, though, his name is Wakabayashi Shin.
Shin Wakabayashi. He worked on 22/7. It was like an idol anime short that was covering an original idol group that was like represented by anime character designs drawn by what is her name? She worked on K-On! And Tamako Market.
Oh, the person you love?
Yamada Naoko.
No, not Hiro. Oh my god, I'm gonna get cancelled by QAnon
Akia
Twitter.
Watanabe.
Yes.
Akia Watanabe, I just gave it to you.
No, it's Yukiko Horiguchi. Horiguchi. Yeah, I just remember people called her Hori Hori, and I was like, that's not going to be helpful to anyone who doesn't know who she is. Yeah, Yukiko Horiguchi, who's, I believe, the sibling of Abek / Bun Bun, who did the character designs for Sword Art Online, and Mysterious Heroine X, and Mysterious Heroine X Alter, and Mysterious Heroine XX, and Mysterious Idol
and
Alter X Alter.
Yeah. God, so stupid.
For all 2 Go players
anyway.
in chat who are listening.
Anyway,
but yeah,
my point was that
right.
This was Wakabayashi Shin's like his directorial debut.
Right, for a full TV anime. Yes.
And in that respect, as a director, he fucking killed it. Dude knocked it out of the park.
For sure.
So I hope that we get to see him direct more things in the future with better writing.
Yes.
Because
it really felt like his directorial style was really influenced by like a lot of Yamada Naoko's works. But like with his own twist on it, and it really worked well for the show.
Yeah, I have literally no complaints about the directing of the show. I think that was perfect. Give this guy some like good material to work with, he could easily become one of my favorite directors.
I can see that. I just remember watching this with my old roommate, and we were watching it weekly, and then, because of COVID, we couldn't always meet every week. And I was like, look, I'm just going to watch the last couple episodes without you because this has been really great and I want to get ahead on it. And then he was like, hey, so are we ever gonna finish Wonder Egg Priority? Like, that last episode about the trans character, man, that was so good. I can't wait to watch more.
Are we ever gonna finish that? And you're like, no. No, we're not.
No, we are. Absolutely. You watched the peak of it.
You did finish it. That's the last episode.
That's like a friend of mine watched... What's the name of that fucking show? Violet Evergarden. Like after
Little
it ended,
known series, Violet Evergarden.
Yeah, she watched Violet Evergarden after it ended, and messaged me at one point to be like, "I just finished Violet Evergarden. That last episode, it was so good. It was so moving." And I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like, that last episode didn't make any sense. It was so ass, and she was like, "What? No, it was amazing." And we went back and forth like this for a little while before we realized that the subgroup that she was downloading them from had not finished releasing all of the episodes yet. So the last one that she watched was the one where Violet, like, babysits that little girl, whose mother wrote all the letters to her.
Oh my god!
And I was like, okay, yes, no, that episode is amazing. Stop there.
I think the next episode about the veteran and the girl back home is a pretty good episode.
Okay,
too.
Yeah, that one's fine.
Yeah,
the last episode of it is trash.
Yeah, definitely the mom episode is definitely the peak of the series. Yeah. But yeah, what? Yeah, it's those episode 10s, man. Episode 10s. Oh man. Wonder Egg Priority. It definitely gave us a memorable experience. I don't think I'm going to be forgetting. Actually, I say that, and there are many days where I just completely forget Wonder Egg Priority ever existed.
It's true. Yep. Same exact thing.
It could have been a very memorable one, but it ended up being so bad, I purposely made it forgettable.
In the end, I am giving, since they're conveniently different entries on Mal, I am giving the original series a 7. Because I did not rate the original series until I watched the special.
Yeah, same here.
In the end, I am giving the original series a 7, and I'm giving the special a 2.
I think I gave those exact same scores.
I gave the OG series an 8, and I gave the special a 3.
Wait, did I give the Wonder Egg Priority special a 1?
That seems like something you would give a 1.
It's on your mouth.
I did give it a 1. I gave the original series a 6, and I gave the special a 1. So we were pretty consistent.
We had the exact same margins between special and series.
Wow, that's pretty funny.
So, I don't know. You guys have anything else to say on it?
Yo, can we talk a little bit about that, like, bonkers episode that completely jumps the shark? Because I feel like in not this show, that episode...
The flashback one?
the flashback one. I feel like in not this show, that could have been a cool episode. It just felt so out of nowhere for this.
It would have been cool if they just gave closure to Frill and all that. It's like, it's almost like it sets up a second half of the series where it's like, okay, now we've got an established villain. She's created these weird, fucked up things that will just kill your Pokemon, and it's like, yeah, okay, so now the objective is we gotta, like, stop Frill in this dream world or whatever. And it just never happens.
Right. So I would say, with regard to that episode, that I think... How do I want to phrase this? Man. I would say that episode, in a vacuum, was very cool.
Yes.
Where it gets dicey is just once you start to think about it in the context of what this show is about. Because, you know,
clearly everyone was in it for the sci-fi elements to it.
Right. I thought that it would have been like a good, satisfying ending for everything. Or not, like, thematic wrap up to it. To be like, yeah, like, the reason Frill is so fucking insane is because she was created to be, like, the ideal woman by like two shitty dudes who have extremely fucked up views of what women are like.
Yes.
And the actual reason she was so fucked up is just because the writer thinks that that's what women are like.
all women are like that, you know? Don't you know every woman would just creep up on an expecting mother with a hair dryer behind them and just drop it in a bathtub to them? Clearly. God.
But another one of those just like really cool, perfectly inspired design choices I was talking about is the creepy bughead girls. Like, they're terrifying.
They're amazing.
They're so scary.
They're so fucked up. Those are like serious nightmare material.
It's genius. It's so genius. If only we had been able to see like a resolution to that plot, I would have loved that. Frill is literally never even mentioned in the special.
Nope.
Like, she's in the flashback, or like the recap, but like she has nothing to do with anything. We don't know what the hell the deal is with the Bughead girls. We don't even know how she was causing girls to commit suicide.
Yeah, like she just gets locked up in like this coffin with a bunch of monitors, and then he comes
so she can watch all of Hollow Live.
Exactly. and then the guy comes down like a decade later and just got like wires connected to everything, and it's like, how the fuck did she do that?
Right. It's simply absurd.
Yeah.
In the spirit of One Direct Priorities finale, let's talk about Hollow Live, something completely different. Sinrus, when are you going to start watching VTubers?
Never.
Why is that?
Because...
Why do you hate people trying to make a living on the internet?
Because trying to make a living on the internet is bad. The whole, like, VTuber concept, it's just like parasocial relationships in a corporate package, isn't it? Like, taken to the absolute extreme, where it's like literally a fake version of a person that you're watching.
So one of my friends, I was talking to him about it.
Oh wow, this is an actual debate that they're gonna have. Wow.
And he was saying like, so he had like no idea what was going on, and I was like telling him a little bit about it. He was like, "Oh, so it's like drag," and I don't know enough about drag.
That is a really funny comparison.
But it was like, you know, it's them, but we all agree collectively that we know that is not a real person, but we buy into the fake persona of it for fun. And it's like, and for the person who's performing, it's them, but not them, but like a lot of them is in it. And they have their persona that they're like projecting and like entertaining you and like, you know, doing all this stuff. And I was like, huh. So like, are VTubers the natural progression of drag?
I'm going to cut you off there. That's gone a little far.
Because there's independent VTubers, and I know there are a few non-binary and trans VTubers who like it because they're, you know, maybe they aren't able to
you can
have the body that you want to display.
Sure. Like there are ways in which it can be good, definitely, but
right.
You know, like the whole Hollow Live thing is just like
it's so corporate, guys. Oh man. But they're trying so hard, Sinrus. I watched Subaru's 3rd anniversary live, and she like had been trying and practicing and dancing for so many years, and she has this great sob story. Anyway, back to Odd Eye. So I think now we're gonna try and wrap up this One Direct Priority episode. Now that we've fully gone into the spirit of the special. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I have any thoughts that I haven't hit on One Direct Priority.
I'm sure I will come up with more after we're done recording, just because we've been so scattered, and I have a lot of feelings about the show. but I've done my best.
Same here. So I'm just going to say, read my Twitter thread. I will link it in the description. It's the best stuff I've ever posted on this stupid-ass website. And it sums up all of my thoughts on Wonder Egg Priority very succinctly, I believe. It is the definitive experience. I feel like even if you haven't seen Wonder Egg Priority, you can just read this thread and this will kind of be the general experience of watching it.
All right.
I really like the fact that you could tell that the writer of Wonder Egg Priority had seen Mamma Mia, because that's Rika's backstory. It's just the plot to Mamma Mia.
You're not totally wrong.
It's literally Mamma Mia! Here I go again. My.
I have no experience on this, so I'll just take your word for it.
So in Mamma Mia, the daughter of Meryl Streep in the movie anyway. I'm just gonna call her Meryl Streep because I don't remember her name. So Meryl Streep's daughter doesn't know who her dad is, and like leading up to her wedding, she invites the 3 men that her mom like slept with in like a 2-week span that could all potentially be her father. And the plot of Mamma Mia is her trying to figure out who her dad is.
Oh, I see.
And, Rika has, 3 to 5 potential dads.
Yeah, she has 5 photos, and it's one of them is her dad.
Yeah, and she has no idea which one of them it is.
That is funny.
That's all I could think about. Man. Every time I saw Rika, after that moment, all I could think of every time I saw her was, Mamma Mia, here I go again. My, how could I forget
the final gift the show has given us.
That's all I could think about. And originally I was like, wow, this is really disrespectful to a really well-intentioned and well-written character. And now I don't care. I'm like, this is the most redeeming aspect of the show. At least they gave me this.
Yeah. Love Rika.
Yeah.
Love Momo.
Love Rika. Rika was a great character too. The way they address self-harm. And idol culture. Eating disorders. Even if they didn't
I didn't even think about the eating disorders actually. Wow. Yeah. I never picked up on that.
The girl who killed herself.
Because it's not as extreme as Kyoko Sakura and Madoka.
Right. So. Who was overeating because she was so hungry all the time. Or constantly eating.
What I like about Rika is that she's this very cynical side of depression and self-harm and suicide and things like that, to the point where she's just like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't have to fucking deal with this so much. But even if it is our fault somewhat, why should we have to suffer so much?
Yeah, that was another great scene when Rika's like, guys, we're basically all doing this just because we feel guilty over what happened, and we couldn't move on because we were depressed about this, but now we're all pals, we're hanging out all the time, we're having fun, can't we just stop?
Why are we doing this?
That was such a good scene. That's more of the good stuff. Just genius construction for how to put together this kind of narrative.
Because they could walk away at any point. They really could have.
Yeah.
And she was the only one who wanted to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I don't know, friends. And the guilt that Momoe had about her friend.
Yeah.
I thought that was how that must really fuck you up to have your best friend be someone who falls in love with you, and because they fall in love with you, they kill themselves. Holy shit, that would fuck you up.
I can tell you firsthand that it does.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Not exactly the same sort of setup, but
sure.
I have seen similar things. So
it's so fun. Yeah, and it's these are all topics that I haven't really, if ever, seen other anime handle.
Mm-hmm.
And especially
handle well.
Exactly. Man, I don't know. There was just so much good rap in this until the end, and makes me really wonder, how important is an ending to an anime? I feel like sometimes it is the most important because, like, what is it all for if not the ending? Like, if you build up to things and you have no payoff, then what is the resolution? What do you have? But I think there are moments and there are episodes and there are scenes and characters and writing that can stay with a lot of people, and I think that's really powerful and really awesome.
I mean, I think we all showed the way we think about that, and the fact that we rated the ending 5 points lower than we rated the show. You know, like,
I was really thinking this could be like a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. Like, if it stuck the landing, yeah.
I mean, I would obviously
Thankfully,
never say this out
Taxi
loud.
came out the next season to give us the 9 and 10 we were looking for.
Ooh.
What a
great show Odd Taxi was.
I've gotten a few 9s this year. Because I also gave Megalobox a 9.
Yeah.
I've heard... So, I need to watch Megalobox, but I loved Dynazenon.
Did you like
was
Dynazenon?
Absolutely phenomenal. I loved Dynazenon.
I liked it. I didn't like it as much as Gridman, but it was still really good.
Surprisingly, I think I liked Dynazenon more than Gridman.
Really?
Which was not something I expected because I loved Gridman. I absolutely adored Gridman.
We really need to do a podcast on those series.
We do. I like Dynazenon was great. And then Uma Musume's Pretty Derby season 2.
No.
I gave a 9. I can't believe I gave it a 9.
Decline.
That
doesn't count.
The 9. It was a great sports anime.
Okay, guys. Well,
yeah. All right. I think
reporting in. We're cutting it off.
I think that's the last time we're going to go off topic because we're done.
We're done. It's over.
We're done. Okay. Bye.
Go home.